Microsoft has run out of time. Is Starfield already in trouble? This new Xbox controller has a secret feature. Let's discuss. What's up guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, the YouTube channel where I talk about whatever I want as long as it's about Xbox. If you're new to the channel and you're an Xbox fan, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. And also I have links below this video to all sorts of Xbox stuff, including the new Starfield controller that just dropped. This thing was the gaming industry's worst kept secret. It kept floating around the internet, it kept popping up in pictures on Twitter and things like that. It's a shame that Xbox Bethesda, they couldn't keep a lid on this thing, but they finally revealed it to the world alongside the Starfield headset Sunday at the Xbox Game Showcase. I can't wait to get my hands on one of these things. I'm still waiting for it to ship. So everything I'm learning about this controller is through other people online or through articles written up about it. But the more that I learn about it, the more excited I am to get one. Tom Warren over at The Verge wrote up an article about his, and apparently you can see the controller's vibration motors through the actual triggers. Now, we knew that they were going to have some sort of clear cap for the triggers, but it's really awesome that you get to see the inner mechanisms of this thing. Along with this controller, you also get access to a special dynamic background, that Starfield theme, on your Xbox. This is something that they did previously with the Xbox 20th anniversary controller, and it's really cool to see that they're doing it again with Starfield. I'm personally a big fan of dynamic backgrounds on my Xbox. I have the Diablo one right now that's just Lilith with the freaking blood petals raining down over her. And with the Starfield one, it could potentially be coming at the perfect time because we know that Xbox is working on an update to the dashboard. And from my understanding, the changes aren't too crazy. There's going to be like a new guide button at the top of the dashboard. The tiles apparently are more or less the same size, but we will be able to see more of our background on our consoles, which is really awesome news if you are like me and you really like looking at your dynamic backgrounds, you take pride in them. This has already been pointed out elsewhere, but I feel like what is drawing me to this controller is the fact that its design is a little bit more subtle. Like, the Starfield branding is not overt. Even if you aren't planning on playing Starfield and you pick this up, I feel like it's something that would go well in your collection. It looks less like a Starfield controller and more like just a general sci-fi spacefaring controller. But the subtle nods that it has to the game, like the Constellation logo on the back, make it so where it's like, okay, if you know, you know. As a reminder, this controller is available right now. It's $79.99, so $80 give or take. And if you really want to go hard with the Starfield merch, they do have a headset to go along with it as well. That also looks really cool, but at the same time, I've been kind of not too happy with my own Xbox wireless headset, so I'm kind of reluctant to get another one, even if it is cool Starfield style. They also have a Stargate Seagate hard drive, which I thought was a little strange because, as we know, you can't play Series X and S games off of a hard drive, so even if you were to store Starfield on this drive, you would have to switch it back and forth from your console in order to play it. You couldn't play it directly off the drive. It's safe to say that Starfield hype is at an all-time high. After Starfield Direct on Sunday, the game looked massively improved from what they showed off in 2022. As of 21 hours ago, according to PCGamer.com, Starfield has catapulted itself to the #2 spot in Steam's global bestsellers list. According to PC Gamer, this is based off of straight-up revenue. And that's pretty crazy that people are willing to throw down that kind of money this far in advance for Starfield, considering that it's going to be on both versions of Game Pass, PC and console. We go through these periods of time where people are like, no more pre-ordering, I'm done with this, it enables bad habits by video game developers, but Starfield, it looks like, has people believing again. But even though hype is at an all-time high for Starfield, that has not shielded it from controversy. Todd Howard and company did confirm that Starfield is going to be locked at 30 FPS on consoles. And I'm sure you can go ahead and just guess how some people are reacting to that news. Todd Howard further clarified, it's 4K on the X, it's 1440 on the S. We do lock it at 30 because we want that fidelity. We want all that stuff. We don't want to sacrifice any of it. Here's my 2 cents on the situation, and I know I'm a little bit late on the conversation, but I think we have to remind ourselves that Bethesda RPGs and Starfield by extension, the scale of these games are unlike anything that we see in other games. And this is coming from someone who has played a lot of RPGs of the open world variety. Cyberpunk 2077 2077, The Witcher, Elden Ring, many Assassin's Creed games, a lot of Far Cry games. Yes, those games that I listed off, there are some aspects that they do things better than a Bethesda RPG. For example, I'm a really big fan of Elden Ring's combat versus Skyrim's combat. But over in these Bethesda RPGs, they pack in a ton of stuff. Thousands of lines of dialogue, dynamic NPCs that eat, sleep, go to work, live their own lives regardless of whether or not you interact with them. And Starfield is no different. Starfield is shaping up to be Bethesda's biggest RPG of all time. We're talking about a game that is not only open world, it's open galaxy, man. It's open space. We're talking about a game where you can get into your ship, fly into open space, rob a ship, take that ship back to your outpost, fill it with thousands of sandwiches if you want to, go somewhere else, and the game is keeping track of all of these objects in real time. They even threw in gravity physics that respond to the different type of weaponry that you have. So in my personal opinion, and you can say whatever you want about it, if locking the frame rate at 30 FPS on consoles is the trade-off for juicing up all the Bethesda stuff that I've loved in the past, then I am personally cool with it. We did see a lot of combat in Starfield Direct, and it looked pretty smooth even if it was at 30 FPS. But at the same time, this is not a game where I'm begging for extra frames, right? This is not a competitive shooter. I'm not playing Chivalry 2 and freaking like moving my camera with the swings and the parries. This is a game, at least for me, that's about the roleplay, about the immersion, and I think it's still gonna deliver on that come September. Now, I'm not saying that every Xbox first-party game should get a pass for locking itself at 30 frames. When they announced that for Redfall, I was like, that is whack. And when I played it at 30 FPS on consoles, I was like, this is whack for sure. And if they come out and they're like, yeah, the next Halo is going to be locked at 30 FPS on consoles, or the next Gears, or even the next Fable, I'm going to be like, that is whack. But personally, I think Starfield will be fine without it. I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, if Redfall had 60 FPS, a performance mode, would that make it a better game? Would people like it more? And the obvious answer to that is no, because usually more frames does not equal more fun. That's why I'm a little bit worried about Hellblade 2, because all of the marketing for this game, everything that we've been hearing about this game has been, oh my gosh, look at how great this game looks, look at how awesome the mocap looks, the freaking like facial capture, the facial recognition, it looks amazing. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking like, okay, but what's the game like? You're gonna have to show me a little bit more than just, oh my god, this game looks amazing. It's gotten to the point that a developer who worked on God of War Ragnarok has come out and defended Starfield's choice to cap it at 30 FPS on consoles. Over on Twitter, he said, game dev here, big fan by the way, wanted to clarify it's not a sign of an unfinished game, it's a choice. 60 FPS on this scale would be a large hit to visual fidelity. My guess is that they want to go for a seamless look and less pop-in, and of course you're right to dislike the choice. So me personally, I'm still excited for this game, I'm very much looking forward to it, but if this is something that is a deal breaker for you, then by all means, it's a deal breaker for you. You are free to think what you think. You are free to play what you play. I will never judge you for it. Next up, we have a major update in the ongoing saga that is the Activision Blizzard acquisition. This morning, on June 14th, the California federal judge filed a restraining order against Microsoft, preventing them from closing this deal with Activision Blizzard. So there could be no more progress on this deal between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. They're going to have a hearing for this case on June 22nd and 23rd. According to Forbes, the temporary restraining order is in place until the court rules on the FTC's preliminary injunction against the deal, which the agency filed on Monday. Now, this is significant because, yes, we know that the FTC, we know that the CMA over in the United Kingdom, they're not down with this deal, right? But we are rapidly approaching a certain deadline that Microsoft and Activision Blizzard agreed to way back in January 2022. Both companies agreed that they would close this deal by July 18th of 2023, which at the time, I'm sure they were like, oh, we got plenty of time, but now it's only a month away. And because of this restraining order, this injunction here in the US, there is a very real possibility that the deadline's gonna come and go. And if that happens, Microsoft is on the hook to pay Activision Blizzard $3 billion. $3 billion, and they won't have anything to show for it. This whole thing is getting out of hand, man. This whole thing is getting crazy. Phil Spencer commented on it in the conference for media after Sunday's show, and he said that he was still feeling confident. Obviously, I don't know what else he would say as the face of Xbox, but he said he was feeling confident that it was a learning experience experience. He did crack a joke saying we've been approved in 40 different countries, except for 2, but those 2 are the big ones that they absolutely need. And it's kind of crazy how, 2 countries and 1 company can have so much power, so much say in whether or not this deal gets approved. Of course, I'm referring to Sony because they're the only ones who are really opposed to this deal. Pretty much every other publisher, every other gaming industry bigwig has come out and said they're like, yeah, I think this deal would be cool, I hope it goes through. Or if they don't hope it to go through, at least they're not saying anything. They're kind of like just playing coy. But the good news is that even without Activision Blizzard, Xbox still had a strong show on Sunday, in my opinion, and I'm looking forward to all the stuff that they're working on and they have coming out in the next couple of years, and luckily none of it has to do with this Activision Blizzard deal. Now I want to talk about my highlights from the Xbox Game Showcase Extended. This is a show that aired on Tuesday, and I thought it was a pretty dang good show. They took a deep dive into Avowed, which is the new RPG from Obsidian that they showed off at the showcase. I've been looking forward to this game for a very long time. I've been talking about it on the channel non-stop. I'm a big fan of Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, and Avowed is essentially a spin-off of those 2 games. I was kind of surprised that Avowed looked a little bit more fantastical than I was expecting, because if you've played Pillars 1 or 2, especially in the first one, it's a fantasy world, yes, with magic and like freaking soul monsters sucking the souls out of people, but it's also, I would say, a lot more grounded than what we've seen from Avowed. I'm talking like, just standard taverns and forests and fantasy ruins, but nothing like bright and crazy. And canonically, we learned that there's a reason for that. Apparently, Avowed takes place in a different place than the Pillars games. Avowed is set in a place called the Living Lands, which is home to all sorts of crazy creatures compared to the Aether Empire featured in Pillars 1 and 2. They also answered a big question for me personally, in that your main character in Avowed is not going to be a Watcher, which is what you played as in Pillars 1 and 2. Again, I'm very excited for this game. Whenever Obsidian makes an RPG, it's just good, man, dating all the way back to when they worked on Fallout New Vegas. So I can't wait to see what they do with Avowed. It's looking a lot like the Outer Worlds, but just fantasy, and honestly, if it's just that, I'll be a happy man. Hi-Fi Rush is getting all sorts of new game modes, and I'm really excited for that. I feel like people have quickly forgotten about this game, but I guess it's not very quickly because it was 6 months ago that they released it at Developer Direct. I'm excited to see that this game is still getting support, and I'm really excited to play through the new faster game mode. They said that the fastest songs in the base game for Hi-Fi Rush tap out at like 160 BPM, and in this new game mode you can push it to like 200 and above. That looks really fun. I can't wait to jump back in with Chai and friends. Phantom Liberty looked really cool too. They didn't really show off a ton of Dogtown, which is where the new expansion is taking place, but the idea of an underbelly even beneath Night City is really appealing to me. Everyone who's played Phantom Liberty already has had nothing but good things to say about it, and they had PlayStations for it as well at FanFest on Sunday. I got to play a little bit of it, and from what I've seen, it's really cool. I feel like Keanu Reeves was in this interview kind of shooting from the hip. He was giving like off-the-cuff answers. It was a nice energy because I feel like the rest of the presentation was very curated, I would say. Phasmophobia coming to consoles, I was not expecting to see that. And finally, Towerborn is shaping up to be a very interesting title to me. This is made by Stoic Games, the same people behind the Banner Saga, which I love. The Banner Saga is a mix of like, I don't know, it's like Fire Emblem combat with like an Oregon Trail caravan aspect to it. It is awesome. It is beautiful and also painful at the same time. But Towerborn looks so different compared to what I played through in the Banner Saga, but it also looks really cool. I wasn't expecting it to be a seasonal game. I wasn't expecting it to be a co-op game. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on Towerborn as we go forward because I know it looks a little bit cartoony, it looks a little goofy, but from what they were showing off, I thought it looked really interesting. Anyways, guys, that's all the stuff I have to talk about for today. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video.